Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. This week we are doing a special episode where I was actually a guest on the Classical Next podcast with host David Taylor. David is a fantastic entrepreneur and musician. He also hosts the Classical Next podcast, and I've had the pleasure of getting to meet him when I was there for the conference last year in Berlin and this year in Budapest. I hope that you love the conversation. We cover a number of different things around entrepreneurship and even the use of AI. Things coming up in the Fearless Artist that I need you to know about. We just had a fantastic workshop yesterday at the Juilliard Entrepreneurship Symposium where Deanna and I got to speak about branding and mindset and content creation. It wasn't recorded, but we do have a brand workshop training that we just did in our membership. And if you want access to that, all you need to do is DM us the word branding and we will send you the replay. And some really special news is that next week is going to be our 100th episode of this podcast. I can hardly believe that I'm saying that we've made it to 100 episodes, but if you're listening, then I want to say a huge thank you. And to celebrate, we're going to be giving away 3 tickets to our upcoming Fearless Career Day. If you've been around since last year, you'll remember this is a full day of guest speakers and workshops that we host together with our good friend Bernhard Karas in Vienna. He is the creator of Be Your Own Manager. So these tickets are valued at €100. So it is my pleasure to be able to give away 3 of them. And all you have to do is listen to next week's episode where I will give a clue of how you can enter to win this giveaway for the tickets. So stay tuned because lots of exciting things are coming up. Thanks again for listening. And as always, be fearless. Enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to the Classical Next podcast, the global platform for the ideas and the people redefining classical and art music worldwide. I'm your host, David Taylor. Today, I'm talking with pianist and entrepreneur Michelle Lynne. Not only does Michelle embody what a modern musician is today, but she empowers other musicians to have their own thriving careers. As well as performing across the world with immersive performances, she is the co-founder of the Fearless Artist Mastermind, coaching and supporting musicians on their own careers, and has taught entrepreneurship at conservatoires across the Netherlands. In this conversation, we dive into the power of entrepreneurship and self-promotion for musicians. We look at some of the challenges that musicians are facing in their careers and how to overcome them. And we explore the impact of AI, the power of telling stories in performances, and the benefits of continual learning. Right, that's enough from me. Let's jump in. Michelle, it is so good to see you. How are you doing?
Hi, David. Happy to see you too.
So, well, thank you first of all for being on the podcast today. The day after your birthday, it is bright and early, so I think you get extra bonus points for being here for this chat.
You know, starting the new year strong. I'm a better person already, waking up first thing.
Exactly. It's a great start. Well, I'm so excited to chat to you today because I think you're someone who has really embodied not only being a musician in the modern age, but also helping others to be that as well. So it'd be great to dive in and hear a little bit about not just what you do, but your journey to getting there as well.
Well, thank you. So I'm a Canadian pianist. I live in the Netherlands since 13 years almost. And the plan was to come over for 2 years, study with some great teachers over here. You know, the history of classical music is very European. And ended up staying for the last decade. So I think once I got over here, I recognized that wherever you're going to sow, you will eventually reap. It just takes time. So it felt kind of silly to turn around after a couple of years and go back to whatever I was trying to save my life in Canada, preserve it in some way. I agonized over doing a doctorate degree because some people say it's super important and some people, you know, it ends up not being very necessarily useful. So yeah, for me, I just decided not to do that path and picked up kind of entrepreneurial ideas, topics. I had friends talking about it, started listening to people like Seth Godin, Marie Forleo, marketing, learning about talking about ideas, sharing, the motivational stuff. And then it was like, oh, well, maybe there's something to this to apply to like the music career of you need to go out there and put yourself out there and be seen and be comfortable being seen. And this whole idea of being fearless kind of came to me because I recognized how much fear was holding me back in my own life of not wanting to be rejected, not wanting to be judged, knowing the very high standards of our industry, not wanting to not be good enough, just it's so much easier to hide. So this kind of concept of being fearless started around 2017, 2018, I think. And then I met Deanna Petre, my co-founder, in Paris. We started playing together first as a quartet, then as a duo. And then in 2020, we launched the Fearless Artist, which is our coaching company for freelance classical musicians. And at the same time, my own career started to really develop because I think I was trying to embody what I was also sharing with others. My whole story has been like what I learn, what helps me, I will just share with people. And then from that, we've been able to build this wonderful community of musicians who are really going after their dreams and goals and being fearless.
That's so exciting. I think it's really fascinating that you touch as well on like having to embody what you are helping other people with. So before we dive into all the things around entrepreneurship, just as a quick question that came to mind, from having to embody that, have you felt that sort of has nudged you to do more than you may have done if you didn't have that potential pressure and connection?
Yeah. Well, there's a certain responsibility of you need to do what you're telling other people to do. So you can't, it's very easy to sit on your butt and tell everybody else to get out there and don't worry about getting rejected and just send the email. And then you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, hang on, like, how's my content strategy? How's my website? How am I organizing my life? Where's my time management going? So coaching has helped me enormously to be accountable. And then by building this community, I was just so deeply encouraged because people are really grateful to have positive influences in the classical music industry because I think so many of us have had maybe toxic experiences or comparison or competition or whatever. So being isolated is a total killer. And so they're so grateful that when that gratitude comes my way, I kind of swell up and I'm like, yes, let's do this. So yeah, definitely I've been more brave. I still have a long way to go with being more brave. I've got a few pitches that I am sitting on.
I think that's always the way with these things. It's always difficult to fully implement things, and there's still sort of the human aspect that comes in. One thing that I've always found is the hilarious bit where you give a piece of advice, you're like, that's quite good. I should probably take that advice that I gave someone at some point.
It's like, oh no, I'm telling them to do the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. Oh dear. Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Well, to wind the clock back a little bit, I'd love to dive into sort of the why this is needed. And you mentioned the need for musicians to be self-promoters and to put themselves out there. How do you see the role of a musician has changed in the modern world?
I think there's a lot of possibilities that we do not step into because we don't realize A, that it's possible, B, that a lot of musicians are waiting for permission to try things. And I think I was thinking about this last week with Deanna. I think it's because in training, you have your teacher telling you every single thing from phrasing to harmonic analysis to technique and you're always kind of looking for permission from your teacher. Is this good? Is this right? Am I right? And so when it comes to applying other concepts like sharing your ideas online or, you have a great blog and you're writing and you've got books. And so you didn't wait for someone to say, yes, David, your ideas are good enough, go publish them. You were convicted in your own right. And I think a lot of musicians are still waiting for someone to say, hey, this is good and it needs to be shared. So I think there's a lot of missed opportunities because people just simply don't try. And then in terms of, making it, if you want to get into that cliche phrase, yes, of course, a manager, a booking agent, people can elevate you, give you more visibility, but there's a lot of legwork that you can do on your own to get to that point of somebody being able to come in and kind of magnify what you're already doing. So if you're not taking the possibility of marketing yourself, networking, building things, reaching out, pitching, branding, you have control over all of that. And you have control how the public perceives you when you're, a smaller artist, let's say, in order to build to that bigger career. So you got to do the work now, because then if you do get picked up by someone who can really help you, then you've given them a lot of fuel for the fire.
Definitely. I'm really fascinated about that. 'Cause you mentioned about branding, marketing, all these things. How, in your instance, did you develop those skills? I know you mentioned Seth Godin, but we have teachers who teach us music. We don't necessarily have teachers who teach us careers. Like, how did you develop the skills to be able to, one, do this for yourself and two, help other people?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of learn by doing. And I've been fortunate to get some really good training, coaching, reading a lot of books, podcasts. And then I was on faculty for 3 years at 2 conservatoires. So curriculum wise, we developed curriculum around these concepts at a bachelor master's level. And then with our clients, it's just about implementing these topics at a deeper level. So yeah, I mean, I did study kind of in the real world. I was to say like finding resources currently, not necessarily doing the degree, but reading all the same books that would be on the curriculum of that. And then I learned a lot from my colleague who is doing the branding minor at Code Arts in Rotterdam. I worked with a marketing coach for a long time. Just continuous learning, I think, to understand, first of all, what is marketing. And I mean, Seth is a great place to start for Seth, all of his stuff. And yeah, Donald Miller, story brand, learning how to share your story, learning how to be persuasive, charisma skills, people skills, all the books, How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the most helpful books because you just really learn how to present yourself and share ideas and connect with people. And I think then you start realizing, oh, that's actually how our careers are built, are through people. And how wonderful is that to be connected to something other than just us? It's not just about us, it's about sharing, which is also what we tell our audiences when we're presenting music, that it's about the experience that we can give them, which is this incredible music that we are sharing with them. And so, yeah, kind of, I would say finding my way in the real world doing these things.
I think that's really commendable, but also really energizing that we have agency and you're not necessarily inhibited by not being at a certain conservatoire or having access to certain courses, degrees, etc. to be able to do this. It is something where individuals can go out and start that journey and then get support later on.
Yeah, and there's so many great courses. I mean, I've done a bunch of courses on Udemy or Coursera or, so many books. I mean, your books have been really helpful as well. Just sharing ideas with people, reading what other people are saying and thinking and forming ideas, listening to podcasts. I mean, there's a lot of free information that is extremely helpful, and you just have to be willing to, it's very easy. You go to the gym, you listen to a podcast, Alex Hormozy. It's like, how are other industries thinking about marketing and sales? Okay, obviously they're operating at a different level. They have a different price point. They have a different market, but we can apply a lot of those things to the music industry, even if we are a few years behind. And then you can see how these concepts still work.
So with that idea of taking inspiration from elsewhere in other industries, what sort of industries do you take inspiration from? Are there any in particular that stand out as a model that we can maybe learn from?
So yeah, I mean, I mentioned Alex Hormozy. He kind of coaches in any industry. People will come to him and they're working at like the $100 million level, right? So it's just interesting to hear how they're talking about scaling and growth. But other, building a teaching studio, okay, that's still music world. Anything entrepreneurship, small businesses, anyone who needs to find an audience and then sell to that audience. And of course, for musicians, a lot of the legwork is just wrapping your mind around the fact that you do need to think like this, because a lot of people are still kind of just waiting for things to figure themselves out. It's like, well, no, you need to build your visibility and then learn how to connect with that audience. So we talk a lot about visibility, content, let's say, and then nurturing content where you're actually connecting with people. So I don't have a particular industry come to mind, but any small business where you need to build an audience and then connect with those people, I think is relevant.
So not only are you a practicing musician, but you are also someone who helps and supports other musicians as well in their careers and things. What are the main challenges that you see musicians facing at the moment that may have been different to 5, 10 years ago?
Overwhelm. I think a lot of people are overwhelmed at the amount of information flying at them, or, things go really fast. And so sometimes we confuse pace with quality or longevity. I think working to be consistent long term is a big challenge, because you can get excited about something and jump right away and get on the boat and start doing the thing. But at some point, there's going to be pushback from someone that you love, someone that you respect. Someone will make a comment to you that gets under your skin. You'll get stuck somewhere. And if you don't have the resilience skills that it takes, or, if you don't persevere a little bit and learn to get over those speed bumps, which musicians do know from practicing. Musicians know this from preparing the pieces. So it should be possible to apply these things to other areas. But again, I think that waiting for permission thing is really big. People are wanting someone to say like, hey, this is good.
And I imagine as well, trying to do some of those things in isolation without a community can be a real challenge as well.
Yeah, I know TFA would have died a long time ago if I didn't have Deanna doing it with me. So we've really done this together, and ebb and flow, different strengths, different coaching styles, but I could not have done this alone.
So when it comes to the idea of supporting musicians and maybe not doing this alone, how are you able to support others and building a community for them?
We have a community called Fast Forward, and we do monthly coaching calls. We have about 65 of them together. So on top of the live calls, we have workshops that are held monthly. Actually, this month, my colleague from Code Arts, Peter, is coming to do brand training, brand voice training, how to actually talk about your concerts. And like the whole aspect we're taking is, are you tired of hearing thrilled to announce? Well, that's because you don't know how else to talk about your concert. So come to this brand voice training. We'll tell you what words to actually use so that you're not just saying that you're so excited to be back at, stuff like that. And then we have a Slack channel where people are asking for feedback. They're asking questions. They're saying, hey, I'm stuck on this. Or what do you guys think about this technology or software? Or is anyone trying this thing? And that's particularly helpful. People are also celebrating wins. We're really big on that, actually, just looking for the positive things that are going well in your career, because it's so easy to focus on what's not working, and just training your brain to have that confirmation bias of, yeah, I reached out to this person and this project is in the works and this performance went well and I've got this album concept, and whatever's momentum you can build to focus on that.
That's really encouraging. I think the idea of doing this in isolation is such a challenge, and it must be difficult to not only find access and that support, but also find somewhere that is enabling you for it as well. I love the idea of celebrating wins, which I think we as a wider industry are not necessarily the best at times.
Yeah, and people often say to us, "Oh, I thought I was the only one having this problem." And we're like, "Welcome to the club. You're good. You're safe here. This is the place to be. Be truly yourself and to understand." Everyone's worried about how they come across and if they're being perceived well, and nobody wants to be misunderstood, and everyone wants to be respected in the industry. And you don't spend thousands of hours at your instrument if you didn't want to be good at it. So there's a real element of wanting to belong. And so I think we offer that through the community, but also give people the courage to keep building that outside of Fast Forward.
Definitely. So I think there's always this challenge as well for musicians who are going out into the world after training. If you were to give musicians who are just reaching that point advice as to what to do next or about their career in general, what advice would you give people who are just graduating?
Something I did that was very effective early on was a Strengths Finders quiz exam. It's a book called Strength Finders, and with that, there's a kind of a survey, and you get these results of what are you good at, your strengths and skills outside of the specific music skills. And I think anyone who wants to position themselves in the industry needs to know what their it factor is. Like, what else are you good at that complements your music skills? So for me, not surprisingly, encouragement came back and empowerment. So then with that, it was like, oh, I need to lean into this speaking thing. So then I kind of started talking on Instagram, sharing ideas. Some people, it'll be that they can build websites, or they can do production for podcasts, or they can do the whole merch thing, or whatever it is that will complement you also being a musician, because that's just going to strengthen your overall career. Nick on Instagram is doing short films, and he just got into South by Southwest doing a short film. Well, that ties into his career as a cellist, but many people, and he spoke about this, which I really appreciated. He's like, do not let people tell you can only do one thing and do that well. You can do multiple things well. You just have to have a strategy behind it and be focused. So I would encourage people, find out what your strengths and skills are beyond your instrument, and then use them to build your career.
I think that's such good advice. It's something we tend to forget, one, when we're studying about working out what our strengths are outside of our musical strengths, but also that ability to really take stock at a moment when finding your direction is really important.
Yeah, I mean, you look at you, you're writing, you're facilitating, you're running a podcast. I mean, these are all things that opened up for you later in your career, I think. So it's very interesting to see, like, as you kind of chase what you're passionate about and what gives you joy and what brings you energy, new things will open up. You'll get excited, invited to do other opportunities. It's fun how the podcast, I have a podcast, and I didn't understand how the networking element would be so beneficial, because I've been able to have access to people that I had no business having access to. And there's been friendships formed from that. And I've been very fortunate to get an hour of someone's time, ask them what they think about these things, and then share it with a wider audience. And wow, if I hadn't have leaned into my speaking skills, then I would never have the chance to talk to these incredible people changing the music industry. So that was a really great eye-opener for me.
Just to digress slightly and be maybe a little bit meta of talking about a podcast within a podcast, what are some of the most interesting things or takeaways you've had from all these conversations and podcasts with people around the world that you now have access to?
Okay, so Dustin Boyer does digital strategy, marketing for pop musicians, other genres of musicians. So that was really interesting to figure out, they're way more into the fan base, building the fan base, getting the artists in front of the people, having direct access, SMS marketing strategies, TikTok, posting 100 videos for one song, content that, conversion rates, click-through rates. I mean, all of these very specific measurable strategies that I don't hear a lot of DIY classical musicians really taking seriously or talking about. Or that's what I mean about sometimes I don't think we realize the possibilities that we do have because we haven't explored these avenues because we've been so stuck in the traditional business model of what it means to be a classical musician. Deanna Braywick and Lucas Meacham came on, two huge opera stars, and they're talking about how to sustain the level of success that they have. And that, okay, yes, they've reached an incredible level of success, but they still have the pressure and the fear, and they opened up about that. What does that look like? Deanna talked about why she's posting on Instagram. I mean, I hear a lot of musicians say, oh, if I'm good enough, I don't need to have a content strategy because I'll have made it, so it doesn't matter. And she was saying, this is how I control the PR about my career. This is how I control the narrative about what's being shared about me so that someone else can't come in and misquote me because I speak for myself. So that was also that stuck with me for a long time. And I think that has helped a lot of people be comfortable in letting themselves share more online.
Really good takeaways. As well as doing, obviously, the podcast and the coaching, you're also someone I keep seeing at conferences, including Classical Next, but also elsewhere around the world. What would you say are some of the big themes and conversations that are happening right now, and in particular, the ones that really fascinate you?
Boy, funding has fascinated me. I appreciate at the Classical Next. I mean, 2 years ago, we were in Berlin, and that was when there was a lot of cuts in Germany particularly. And I know everyone was really talking about that. And building the private donor model, I think, is really interesting because as a Canadian, North American, I'm kind of more familiar with people being willing to give privately to arts organizations. And then now having lived in Europe, I see that that's just not really in the mindset or the culture necessarily here. So I have a concert series here, and we're building up our friends of the series where we're asking for donations per month or per year, and to give people some kind of incentive to do so. But there's a level of education in that as well, so because they think, well, the government offers subsidies for funds, and the funds are saying, oh, well, you should be sustainable by now after X many years of being in business. And so it's like, okay, I'm glad we're talking about this, because how can we build a sustainable financial model for our organizations? As a small person, I've got a small team. So at Classical Next, obviously, there's much bigger organizations talking about this. And then the AI thing, of course, is always interesting because you kind of want to see what other people think, where we're going with this. How far are we taking this? Are we worried? How are we using it to our benefit? And how are we also reinforcing that AI will not replace what we're doing? So yeah, I appreciated that. And then anything around mental health and emotional well-being, I think, is extremely beneficial and great to have.
Really good takeaway. So speaking about AI that is on everyone's minds, what are your thoughts with how AI is impacting the industry, and also any constructive ways that you're using it at the moment?
Boy, I mean, it's a lot of people are super against because of the environmental impact, of course. So sometimes I don't really want to talk about using it because it's an interesting thing. For us, we're just using it as a basic level, content ideas, thinking through business models, coming up with strategies, sales conversations, those kind of things. Nothing really impressive, I would say. I personally, man, how honest should I be? Recently, I went to an orchestra performance where there was a piece performed by AI, and I was really offended. I was like, the artists of all people should not be getting behind this. Absolutely not. Why are we performing this? This is crazy that this was funded. We paid for this to happen. It was a 3-minute piece. It was generated in, 10 seconds. And it was like, oh, wow, look, like a computer wrote this. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to get behind this. I should have walked out as a statement, but I didn't. And then I appreciated at Classical Next that they were saying use AI for the grants to write better, compelling pitches. And I'm like, you know what? Anything that helps the arts get money, I'm going to support. So yes.
Well, I have to ask now, how was the AI music?
It was pretty cringe. I mean, predictable. I mean, on one hand, you're like, oh, it's impressive. It generated this thing in 10 to 15 seconds. But then, I mean, obviously the technology is just going to get better faster. So I'm sure within 3 to 5 years, I don't know, who knows what's going to come out that it will be just on par. But then, so we're sucking out all the emotion and the humanism from this art that is supposed to express what it means to be human. And is no one realizing that this is kind of really dangerous to, I don't know, be comfortable with this? And what are we living for? We want to connect with people, and this is how we share what's on our heart, what's on our mind, what's in us to give. And then you just have it generated. And I don't know, I wasn't a fan.
I've been really fascinated to see some of the pushback against AI music, and I've forgotten the band on Spotify that had something million views within the top streams that was all AI generated and the AI band. But people are, even if they were listening to the music and liking it as background music, then stopped when they knew it was AI because they didn't want to have that.
Yeah.
So I'm slightly optimistic that people are wanting the human element, even if there's going to be a point where they may not know if it is or isn't.
Yeah. I was recently in a favorite cafe, and the barista told me, yeah, I can't stand this music, but we can only play this website that has AI music because we don't have the license to play music by real artists. And I was stunned and horrified because the cafe owners are friends of mine. And I thought, do I need to talk to them about this? Like, put the radio on, put a CD on. Why are we listening to this garbage? I don't know. I was really, and of course it was like pop AI music. So 4 chords, and it was really terrible. So yeah, that bothered me a lot.
Yeah, I can really imagine. But fingers crossed, there's that appetite for human engagement continues
Yeah, maybe we
going
need
forward.
more people to speak up and push back so that it doesn't, like, as you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So to circle back to the future entrepreneurship and things, we talk a lot about musical influences and inspirations. Who are your career inspirations when it comes to yourself and your career?
My career, okay. Yeah, there's a few. I really like Chloe Flower. So she does crossover. She studied classically, but she's always writing albums and has a big following and does exciting performances. And yeah, I like what she's doing. I saw Hans Zimmer recently, and that was very cool. I've got a good friend who's playing the flute part for his orchestra now, and I love the show experience, the lights and the subwoofer, and they had a ballet dancer come down from the sky, and she was doing aerobatics in the sky, and I don't know, anything where there's an experience behind the show as well. People who are talking from the stage, people who are sharing stories, being human. I'm paying attention to people who are opening up in their content. I just discovered, I'm not going to remember his name, Jacob something. He's a countertenor, and it was absolutely stunning what he was doing. And he had some recent success. And in his caption, he was really open and honest about how grateful he was. And he just came across as very genuine, even though he has a large amount of success. And I like people who don't hide behind this wall of, you can't touch me and I'm really great. People who are just still accessible. And I think that's also the positives of social media, is that people share honestly what their experiences are with this. And it also gives a lot of vision for other people, because success leaves footprints. Tony Robbins says that a lot. So if you see someone who's doing something cool, just ask how they got there and kind of dig in and pay attention, and who can you talk to and learn from.
I love that idea of following footsteps. That's really, really powerful. Speaking of following in footsteps, you're someone who creates similar experiences with speaking from the stage, immersive performances and things. How do you go from, or maybe even before, how do you have an idea as to how to make what would be a conventional concert into something that can be more interactive and immersive?
I think it's always going to come down to telling stories for me. Sometimes the stories that I'm telling are personal. So yeah, I remember once my sister was like in labor at the moment that I was giving a concert, and I actually said, this next piece is got this element to it, and I'm thinking of my family in Canada, and people love that, because I think I was in France that night, and so they hear my accent that I'm clearly not from there, and so to bring in to mention my family, this is interesting. When I have shared more personal moments from the stage, then my DMs are full of people sharing equally or to a deeper level of intimacy with me about their family and something they're going through, or if they're having a hard time, or like I mentioned, mental health already. And sometimes I'm surprised at the level of depth that people will share with me. And then I've realized it's because I kind of gave permission by opening up a little bit with a story about, the piece or something I was thinking about. So I also really like to crack jokes if I can. If I can get a good joke in and I get a laugh, oh man, that's great. That's really fun.
Sign of a good concert.
Yeah, so there's one. So anybody who wants to use this, go ahead. So you tell people if there's anyone here on a first date, and this next song is a love song. So if you're here tonight and you're with someone that you love, you can take their hand. And if you're with someone that you would like to go out with, you can also take their hand. And then tell me at the door if it worked out. Good luck. I know a lot of you are here on a first date. And then everyone kind of just, because it's so awkward, because there are many people there who are, maybe first time going out to a concert. And so they're like, they give them permission to make the move. And that's always a big fun moment.
I would love to see some sort of map going forwards of the amount of relationships you've enabled from off the back of concerts and that. There'd be a whole new generation as a result.
This is the real KPI I should be tracking. How many key performance indicator? How many relationships?
Exactly. Where's the data in this?
Yeah, exactly. It would be a good marketing angle. Like if you're looking for a partner, come to a concert. This is, and you know what Concertgebouw Amsterdam is doing, which is very interesting. You've probably seen this, but they have a little quiz when you come on their website. And you fill out the quiz of what your preferences are, but they're fun questions. And, then based on your response, your quiz response, they give you 3 concerts that would fit. So it's kind of like a BuzzFeed quiz, but then it gives you 3 concerts to buy. And I think it's genius. It's a great marketing idea, whoever came up with it, because it makes it fun. And especially for people, and Aubrey Bergauer talks about this, people who have no idea what a concerto is or sonata or the jargon language that we use in the classical music world. This is a great way to connect with kind of the average person who's maybe not knowing this vocabulary, and that they can still have this experience and come to the Concertgebouw. That was very cool.
Wonderful. Well,
yeah, so shout out to them. Good idea.
Great shout. We'll have to look into that. Well, looking to the future, 2 questions to end on my go-to ending questions. If you could change one thing in the industry, what would it be and why?
Boy, my dream is to have like a fund where people could just be funded for whatever they want to do. Like you want to go in the forest and work for a week on your new program and just everything taken care of, housing, food, lodging, whatever. Just, I would love for artists to be more taken care of. Because you hear about these corporate conferences and how bougie people get, and like breakfast is provided and lunch, and they go to these fancy 5-star hotels. I'm like, artists need this. And as long as it's a good idea and you can see some kind of fruit from it, then hopefully there'd just be enough money for anybody to apply and get it. That'd be amazing.
I'm not sure if you've seen Ireland have launched a basic income for artists scheme to do exactly that. So
I've heard about
to roll it out to the rest of the world.
Yeah. It'd just be amazing. I think it would just take so much pressure off, because we want to be able to focus on what really matters. And I know when I've had, 3-4 days chamber music, you get into a quartet, you're working in the music, there's time to go deep, and you just feel like this is what makes life worth living. I don't have to worry about all the other adulting stuff. Yeah, that's my dream.
And finally, what gives you hope for the future of classical music?
Conversations like this, I think, are very beneficial for everyone listening to know that even if you can't see super far ahead, most people know what the next step is. You know what the right next step is to do. So take that step and then trust that the door will open afterwards. Don't try to figure everything out from now, which is something I've been trying to tell myself. So it gives me hope when people are talking openly about their struggles, talking openly about solutions, encouraging one another, talking about how to sustain what we're doing, talking about a wonderful concert experience that they went to that gave them a lot of inspiration, and sharing openly about why we do what we do, because that helps other people keep going who might be discouraged.
I would like to thank Michelle Lynne for joining me, and thank you for listening. Before I go, Classical Next 2027 is heading to Katowice, Poland from the 8th to the 11th of May next year. It's that 1 week where the whole industry gets together in one place, and I would love for you to join us. Registration is already open at classicalnext.com, and we'll be opening up the call for proposals soon. If you have any thoughts on today's episode, or if there's someone you think I should be talking to for the show, you can find Classical Next on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, or just get in touch through the website. And if you have found the show useful, please do subscribe and share it with your colleagues. I'm David Taylor, and I'll see you next time.